everybody.
Jenna, are we... Gemma, sorry. Are you good? Hi, hello everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this Right on the Money session. It's a collaboration between Helpman and Carclew. Just before we get started, just a bit of housekeeping. Your exits are here. If there is, in the event of a fire, I just need you to kind of evacuate to the back gate over there, so if you can all see it over there. So toilets are also out this way. If anyone's needing them, I can direct you once I'm out the back there. Just to get started, I'd just like to welcome you all here and acknowledge that we're on the Ghana lands and pay respects to elders both past and present and emerging. And note that sovereignty was never ceded. My name is Joel Byrne, and I'm the funding coordinator here at Carclew, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming here tonight. I'm going to get straight into it and invite Tess Syme up to give us a bit of insight into what's happening with Helpman at the moment. And shortly after that, I'm going to give you some details about Carclew. So yeah, welcome Tess.
Thank you, Joel. Hello, everyone. Hope this works. Yes, my name is Tess Syme. I'm from the Program Manager at Helpman Academy. So, welcome to Right on the Money. So my colleagues, Joe McFarlane, the Chief Executive Officer, are here. Sonia Mir is here, the Communications and Marketing Manager, as well as Henry Wolf, Engagement Coordinator. So I'm a little bit nervous. So yes, please, after this, please come and find us and ask us questions and talk to us. I'd also like to thank Joel Byrne and the Carclew crew here tonight for hosting us, and also to acknowledge the long-term partnership between Helpman Academy and Carclew. You'll be hearing from Joel and Carclew's offerings later on, and he will also facilitate the Q&A session later with our three panellists. So tonight, I will give you a quick overview of Helpman Academy, let you know about the kinds of opportunities that we provide, and share our tips and grants writing skills on how to prepare a compelling application. Before we begin, I'd also like to acknowledge that today I'm presenting on Ghana country, its sovereignty never ceded. We acknowledge the Ghana people as the custodians of the Adelaide Plains and as the first and enduring storytellers of this land. We recognise and celebrate their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with this country, and pay respect to Ghana elders past, present and future. So, about Helpman Academy. Since 1994, Helpman Academy has been supporting emerging creatives, promoting South Australia as a centre for excellence in creative education and contributing to the artistic community of the state. The Helpman Academy is a unique collaborative partnership unifying the skills and resources of the state's three universities. We work to empower South Australia's most promising emerging creatives to realise their visions and build sustainable practices. We are a very small team who are here to support you as you enter your final years of university and for the first 5 years after you graduate. Our programs support emerging creatives at different stages of your career development, with different funding criteria and opportunities to apply. Our suite of programs have been developed as a holistic approach to the challenges faced by emerging creatives today as you make your way into your own professional practice. What we do. Our suite of funding and professional development opportunities include grants, fellowships, mentorships, awards, residencies, both locally and internationally, masterclasses, workshops, and one-on-one advisory services. Over the next few months, you'll be able to apply for a number of really great opportunities with Helpman, and remember that you can apply for more than one opportunity at a time. You just can't have an outstanding acquittal with us. So we have the following opportunities that are currently open. We have a Creative Investment Fellowships valued at up to $10,000, which closes on Sunday the 17th of September. We have the Helpman Academy in Review Mentorship, valued at $2,500, and this closes on Sunday the 27th of August. And we also have a Business Essentials workshop that we're conducting next Thursday the 10th of August. And we also have these opportunities that are opening up soon. We have our Harness Creative Development Grant Round. This is valued up to $3,000, and that opens on the 11th of September. The Neil Kerno Award, valued of up to $10,000, and that opens on Monday the 18th of September. The Elevate Mentorship Round, our second round for the year, and that's valued up to $3,000, and that opens on Monday the 25th of September. And finally, our Project Curator Mentorship for the Helpman Academy Graduate Exhibition for 2024, and that will open in September. We also have a series of new and free workshops and masterclasses that will be running in October and November, so please sign up for those as well. So make sure you check out the homepage of our website for what's currently open and also what's coming soon. And please make sure that you sign up for our e-news with your personal email and follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well to hear about our first round and current opportunities that are available to you. And I'll remind you again at the end of this presentation as well. So before you start, read through the grant application guidelines and check all of the criteria. And that's listed on our website. So some questions to consider. Is your project a good fit? Look at who they have funded previously and not one size fits all. Is your project eligible? Do your project dates fit in with the application and notification times? If you need to make significant changes to any of these things, then you might need to look at other funding options. And don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. Once you know you and your project are a good fit, plan and prepare a timeline and schedule to submit early. Read through all of the elements on our form. So what questions do you need to answer and what support material do you need to gather? For example, details of your work, quotes, and is your project secure? Lastly, write down any questions that you might have. Is there an information session? If not, try and connect with us to arrange a phone or face-to-face or email communication where we can support you. Prepare and ask questions and be considerate, as we are your champion and we want to do the best for you. And talk to someone else who has also received funding. So write, read and repeat. So you're all prepared. Now let's get started on how to write a winning grant application. We want to know how the project is really going to make a difference to you and the world around you. Write the application as though the person who will read it knows nothing about your project or your capacity to deliver the project. Never assume the organisation knows what you're trying to achieve. Make sure that your content is clear, concise and punchy. Essentially, most organisations want to know the who, the why, the what, the when and the how. So who? Why me? Why us? The why, this is you. So why you? Why now? Connect with where you have been and where you want to take your work and your career. Clearly state why you are the best person for this grant and why now is the best time for you to be selected. Speak to the need for this opportunity and the impact it will have at this point in your practice. We also want to know who else will be involved. Are there other emerging graduates as part of your project and are there mentors involved? The what, so keep on topic. Get to the heart of the project, what impact it will have. What is the impact of the project for you and your career progression? Think about aspects that are unique or innovative. The when, please provide a detailed timeline, as these are the key milestones for your delivery. The how, so how will you manage the project? How will you fund it? The panel wants to ensure that you can manage this project, so you need to break it down into bite-sized pieces. The following points all contribute to preparing a great application. Copy and paste the questions from the application form into a Word document and write your grant in Word, and then with the spell check on. This will reduce typos, grammatical errors, and losing your application content in the grant portal. Make sure you answer all of the questions and don't write not applicable or see above. Ensure you write in the first person. Write from the heart, but make sure it's articulated well. Good applications share a clarity of vision and enthusiasm. Do not include jargon or art speak. You need to write in plain English. Don't make assumptions the panel knows any details about you or what your project is. So we always advise get someone else to read it and make sure that they understand it. Provide short, clear answers that are easy to read. Dot point and headings are really, really useful. If writing is not a strong skill of yours, please consider recording yourself and submitting a video or an audio file. Now, let's talk about budgets. Budgets tell the story of your application. Don't look at your budget in isolation. The budget isn't only a way to give an idea of how much your project costs, it also allows granting bodies to see how realistic you are about what the project entails. Be realistic. Do your research and remember to acquit. We will share an example of the budget template that we can provide you and request that you use this budget template when writing for one of our applications. And Carclew will have a similar budget template as well. It's also important to provide short notes to your budget and expand on what's provided and how you came to this requested amount. Income. Other pending funding applications, for example Carclew, must be included in your budget. Note and include what fundraising you might be undertaking, for example crowdfunding or quiz nights, and note and include any projected income, for example sales of work, merchandise or ticket sales. In-kind support is anything that is provided with no exchange of cash. So for example, provided for free. This can also include your own in-kind contribution, such as artist fees. In-kind goes in as income and comes out as an expense as the same amount. What percentage of your budget is unconfirmed, and ensure that that is noted. A complete budget includes expenses and income, so please include all possible income as designated and confirmed or pending. And finally, expenditure. List all items of expenditure. Provide quotes or proof of expenses, particularly for major expenses. Carclew and Helpman, this will show on different budget lines. Be clear about what expenses you are asking us to cover. This will also help with any changes to your acquittal. You must provide a balanced budget, ensuring that the total expenditure equals to the total of the income. For example, they have to be the same number. Check the totals and check again. If you're applying as a group, please think about the possible tax implications and talk to an expert if in doubt. So now support material for your application. Make sure your material is compliant with what is allowed or required, including format under the guidelines. Your material should be of a professional quality and relevant to the purpose of the application and grant program. All support material needs to be up to date. Do not use an old endorsement letter. When requesting support or endorsement letters, make sure you give the person you are asking enough notice to prepare and supply the letter by your deadline. Ask yourself what elements are missing that complete your story. For example, is there a script, a storyboard, details of who else is involved? Images. You will generally be asked to supply examples of your work in any application form. Include the best images that you have of your work. It is worth investing in professional photography that will best showcase your work and communicate your practice. Images are often the first way that people connect with your work, and it is critical to make a strong and professional impression. When an assessment panel is looking at so many applications, it is often strong images that will make an application stand out. Timeline. You may be asked to submit a timeline with your application. This highlights the milestones and important dates of your project in one succinct list or table. Letters of support. If you're working with other artists, venues or organisations, ask them for a letter of support. Evidence of the support of people who want to work with you will strengthen your application. And finally, referees. You may be asked to provide referees on your application. Select people who have a good understanding of your practice and can speak positively about your professional capacity to deliver your project. So before you hit send, please ask yourself these questions. Has a third party proofread my entire application? Are my confirmations and quotes, are they attached? Is my support material labelled properly? Does the application make sense? Is it exciting and engaging? Does my budget balance? Have all the questions been answered? Is all the criteria met? Is it formatted correctly? Am I submitting it on time? Have I got the final Word version so I have a copy of my application? So it's really important to keep a copy of your application. Also, before sending, ask others to read your application and to seek honest feedback. Check that you have included everything required and that all of your support material is clearly labelled as part of your application. And use our application checklist, which is provided. If you're unsuccessful, seek feedback from the funding body. Grants are usually very competitive and demand usually well exceeds available funds. By seeking feedback from a project officer, you may gain insights that will improve your future opportunities. Acquitting the grant. Make sure you know your acquittal due date. Look back at your application, what you have said you would do, and give details of what you could and couldn't achieve. Explain any variations to your original application. Keep copies also of any media coverage your project receives for inclusion in your acquittal. Include images of the project work developed if available, and ensure your acquittal is submitted on time. You won't win everything that you apply for, but you will learn what to do next time. So we're here to be a training ground for grant writing, so ask questions to us and make sure you take up the opportunity to submit a draft application when that option is available to you. And finally, be kind to yourself. So please sign up. So please scan the QR code to sign up for our weekly e-news. Our weekly e-news is the quickest and easiest way to learn about new opportunities currently open and coming soon first. You can also see what is currently open and coming soon on the homepage of our website. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook to learn more about our offerings and also what other graduates and Helpman alumni are up to. So thank you. That's it from me. It's a lot of information, but as stated earlier, tonight's all about asking questions as well. So thank you all for listening, and I'll pass you back to Joel.
Another round of applause for Tess. Thank you, Tess. And thank you for Helpman for continuing to kind of do this little collaboration with us. It's really helpful because it means it takes away all the shine from what I have to say. So, yeah. So, look, I'm just going to reiterate most of the things that Tess covered in regards to the mechanics of putting an application together, ours are essentially the same, but there's a few subtle differences, whereas the budget's important, acquittals are essential, and just all those key fundamental things. But yeah, let's get started. So, welcome to Carclew. So, what do? Carclew is a peak body operating in the youth arts sector in South Australia. We work with young artists aged 26 and under. Is anyone here 26 and under? Perfect, I'm talking to the right people. And 30 years and under for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists. We work with these artists in three main program areas, providing high quality arts experience for children and young people with an increased organisational focus on disadvantaged communities. We work with education in the sector to embed creativity in schools, and we support early career artists through funding and professional development to further their practice. This is where I come in, the funding. So currently, our round that we have open is our project development round. The Carclew board funds activities for and by young people, 26 years and under, and encourages participation and excellence in the arts through a range of fellowships, grants and funding programs. Eligibility criteria is fairly essential. So what we'll be looking at is you need to be 26 years and under, 30 years for an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, have demonstrated track record as an artist and in any art form. You have to be an Australian citizen or have permanent residency status in Australia, and you have to live in South Australia. For any applicants that are applying for our current round, you need to be 26 as of the deadline, which will be September the 8th. Our project grants are currently open, and we support, and it's for applicants seeking support for projects may apply for up to $10,000. Projects may incorporate both professional development and career building. Development, applicants may seek support for professional development only, i.e. skills development and career building, and apply for up to $3,000. So we have a specific round for the fellowships, and that's purely skills development. That round is ended, but it'll be opening again next year. And you can apply for up to $10,000 for that funding. But right now I'm just focusing on project development grants. The current round is open now and closes on the 8th of September. And as noted, you have to be under 26 as of that cut-off date. The round is for activities that are occurring between January and July as of next year. So if you have an activity that you want to continue or you want to seek funding for and it's occurring at the end of the year, you're not going to be able to seek funding for it. It's not eligible. So, so you need to make sure that you're aware of that. And applicants for activity continuing in July and December of next year, we're going to have another round that's opening in in February. So there'll be, you have availability to discuss that next year when that opens. A couple of examples of previous recipients. We've got Alison Chahone, that was for film. Kaylee Davies, she was for dance, and she secured $9,929. Stakeout Films, The Recordist for $10,000. Tamara Hardman, also for film. Everything All at Once, $10,000. The Opal Guitar Quartet in music for a Sydney and New Zealand tour. They secured $8,500 for that. And then Felicity Townsend for visual arts, and that was a Floating Goose exhibition. And she secured $1,922. So there's a wide variety of funding that you can secure. It doesn't necessarily have to be the full 10K that you go for, whatever your project requires. Another aspect of our project and grants that are happening at the moment is we provide funding for organisations. So once a year, the Project and Development Grants for Organisations program will provide grants of up to $20,000 for activity in the following calendar year. Projects must be one or more of the following. Children and or young people, 26 years and under, are the target audience of the primary project, or the primary project beneficiaries. The project supports the creative skills of in development of children and or young people. The project provides a professional entry point for early career artists aged 26 years and under. And equity and access are primary considerations in project conceptual development in the planning and delivery of your particular project. The eligibility, the program is open to organisations that are not-for-profit organisation bodies, based in South Australia, not in receipt of annual program funding from Carclew or operational funding, have acquitted any previous grants from Carclew and or South Australia or Arts SA, can demonstrate a strong track record of delivering high quality arts programs for children and or young people, can demonstrate the appropriate child safe policies and procedures that are in place to support your project delivery. The available funding is up to $20,000. So if there's any not-for-profit orgs that are looking to seek some funding, I'm the person you want to speak to. A couple of examples are A Studios. They fund $20,000 in 2022 for a zine write, a 3-part project consisting of a suite of artist-led workshops, and Girls Rock, who were funded $20,000 in 2023 for their rock camp. I don't know, they're particularly high regarded organisation, so it's these kind of organisations that we love to provide funding for. So yeah, it's a nice association for Carclew, I think. That's just a brief overview of what we're currently offering as far as our project and development grants are concerned. Just a couple of tips I would provide for you. This is something I like to call the 5 Bs. So be passionate, be realistic, showcase your project's passion, but ensure it's feasible and practical for funding consideration. Be thorough, include all technical info as the panel prefers comprehensive applications when deciding on funding. Be clear and concise, clearly express your goals and organise support material into labelled files for clarity. Budget, clearly express your goals and organise support material into labelled files for clarity. And book a consultation. This is really the most important one, I find, because it's always going to pop up in our panel discussions if the applicant has had a consultation. And if you haven't, it's probably indicative that it's not being presented in your application, or we're presented with a problem in the application that could have easily been met if you were to have a consultation with myself. So it's really a key one. So our team is here to help you succeed, so head to our website and book now. For everyone that can't see that, it's just carclew.com.au/project grants. But yeah, it's pretty accessible via the website. But in terms of booking a consultation, you can either do that via our website. All applicants are encouraged to discuss their proposal prior to submitting a grant application. To book a consultation, you can email me directly, and that's on the website, or you can book a consultation if you scroll down to the middle of the page, and you can see where you can pick a time that's suitable for you. But yeah, I strongly encourage you to book a consultation with me, just if you want to get some clarity on what it is your project is and what you want to seek funding for. Again, those key dates. So our project and development grants for individuals plus organisations is open now, and it closes on the 8th of September. And then notification will be November, a couple of months after that. Well, as soon as we hope, but sometimes it's a little bit slower process. And then for our fellowships, which is purely for skills development and professional development, they'll be open in April of next year, and that will be for activity that's happening in 2025. And then we've got another round of project development funding purely for individuals, and that'll open in January next year and close in March. And that'll be for activity that's happening the second half of next year. But yeah, this is all something we can clarify in our consultation meeting. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up our artists that have had received funding before, and we're going to get a bit of a Q&A session going, because I feel like that's really where a lot of information gets disseminated a little bit better. So can I get our guests up to the stage? I'm going to give you this lapel. Also, I just want to note that we're actually conducting this session on a live stream. It's the first one that we've done. So welcome to all the people that are streaming in. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction. So we've got Gemma Solomon. Gemma is a South Australian screenwriter. Gemma has directed independent short films, and in 2022 she co-directed the Ramsay Prize-winning video performance Witness, sorry, with artist Ida Sophia. Thank you very much for coming, Gemma. Appreciate that. Next to you, we've got Danielle Lim. Danielle is an actor, writer, theatre maker, and storyteller who grew up in Malaysia and moved to Australia at the age of 13. She graduated with an honours degree from Flinders Drama Centre in 2021 and was a participant in the CAAP Arts Lab that was held in South Australia's 2021 and 2022 AusAsia Festival. Welcome, Danielle.
Oh.
And next to you we've got Chloe. So Chloe is an emerging artist living and working on Ghana country in Adelaide. They're currently based at Carclew as a sharehouse resident and works as an emerging creative producer. Chloe is also a studio artist and committee member at Artist Front Initiatives, Floating Blue Studios. Thank you very much, Chloe. And if you all kind of walked in from this door, you would have noted that Chloe's got a beautiful piece of artwork hanging on the, and it's for sale, isn't it?
It will be as
It
of
will be
tomorrow.
as of tomorrow. So maybe someone wants to put in a bid now. Listen, thank you all for joining us. Maybe I'll just start with Gemma. Maybe you can give us a bit of an insight into your funding experience, or what kind of funding experience you've had up to this point.
With Helpman?
Well, with Helpman, you haven't received Carclew funding before, have you?
No. I aged out too early.
You did
Yeah.
a lot. So, with regards to aging out, you owe it to yourself as an artist to try and get in now before you age out. So, yeah, please do that.
Yeah. So I started, it feels weird holding this. I started in film late, so by the time I'd finished uni, I was too old. But essentially I graduated sort of last year, is the last topic that I did last year. And I applied for the creative development program. So that process was awesome. I had applied to a number of things with the MRC and had not been successful. It's a totally different thing, and I understand why I wasn't successful in that. But what I found with the Helpman was the support in the process. I just felt like they wanted me to succeed. So I got $3,000. I shot a film called Future Eaters. It's a horror short. It's not finished yet. I guess that the biggest thing for me was, that consultation that I had in the lead up to getting that was, key, totally key.
Was it a kind of situation where you had aged out of Carclew, or you weren't kind of even thinking about Carclew at that time, and you were just looking elsewhere?
Last year, I'm 36, so I aged out a long time ago. I did MAPS Film School 10 years ago. I went into film. I've been working production, and then in the last couple of years, I've sort of said I'm a writer-director. So
hold that thought about the film, because I want to come back to that. Danielle and Chloe, you've both been Carclew recipients. Why don't you tell us a bit about your funding experience, or what experience you've had up to this point?
Yeah, so I received a fellowship grant from Carclew, I think it was in the round last year, to develop a theatre show that incorporates the use of video projections and original soundscapes. It was an international collaboration with a company from Singapore, and the show looks at the notion of cultural identity and how we make decisions about the places that we belong. So that funded a 4-week development. So this was the first stage of the project. So it included 2 weeks of working here at Carclew and 2 weeks travelling overseas and working with collaborators overseas.
And that was a fellowship?
Yes, that was a fellowship.
The fellowship was just purely skills development and professional development, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you received, how much did you apply for?
I applied for 10,000.
Right. And that was,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good way to kind of try and get some
Yeah, definitely. In terms of developing my own work for the first time after uni and doing research in that capacity. So yeah, definitely.
Well, I guess, yeah, it's important to differentiate the fellowship from the project and development grants, where fellowship is purely about skills-based development, and project has the outcome of having a project. So, for example, if you were to kind of put on a show, you'd probably want to find funding, project development funding.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you're a resident at Carclew, or have you been a resident?
I am a resident at Carclew, yeah, with Chloe. Yeah.
Awesome. And Chloe, why don't you tell us about your funding experience? Have you had funding outside of Carclew?
Yeah, so I had some funding through Helpman during COVID, one of the COVID grants that was happening. And that actually supported with my studio at Floating Goose. It paid for my rent for a few months because obviously I was losing work due to, COVID. And so that was really helpful. I also did a mentorship with Dave Court last year for the Stobie Pole project. And obviously there was funding through that to help pay for our materials.
That was through Helpman, or was that through Carclew?
That was through Helpman, yep. And then with Carclew, I obviously last year was a sharehouse resident. I had a studio space here, and now this year I'm doing the Emerging Creative Producers Program, which obviously there's funding through that. I'll actually be putting on a event for Feast Festival in November. That's I think my funding that I have received. So that's good.
Well, I guess, we're all artists. Everyone that works at Carclew has been an artist at some point, so we kind of understand the kind of ecosystem that requires us to kind of get funding. And so I think it's good to have Gemma, you being a little bit older, and having some younger artists and kind of understand, how competitive you can be as an older artist. So, and especially in film, what's your perspective on being an artist in film? It's pretty essential to have funding, in some capacity.
Yeah, it's key. So I think, film is particularly competitive. So yeah, it's one of those things where when you go for any funding, there's like 30, 40 other teams applying, and so it's pretty scary. But you need funding to, the pathway is, ideally make a couple of shorts, get into film festivals, kind of have some hype. So unless you're totally self-funded, which many people are not, you need Helpman or you need the Mercury. Those two organisations in South Australia are just so important.
What are your options for funding in film, especially in South Australia?
Well, at my level, I'm still making shorts. It's the MRC, and it's Helpman.
Yeah.
In essay, that there are, you can do lots of research and find, there's organisations all over the world that do support international, people from all over the world to make shorts. They're also more competitive. So what's good about having home state funding is that you're kind of building your, reputation in the state, because you need, filmmaking is the biggest team sport ever. And so you need people in the state to know who you are and to trust that you can make things and.
Is there kind of some funding bodies that you kind of don't appeal for because maybe they're not synonymous with film? Like, do you think maybe Helpman weren't film savvy, or, they weren't really associated with film? Like, is it specific?
No, because the word of mouth is pretty good. So I had worked with and have friends, who are at my level making films in SA. There's lots of us. And so, for instance, Tamara Hardman's a friend, so I knew she'd been. So I think through word of mouth, the reputation of Helpman is that it'll support film. Yeah.
That's great. That's good. Sorry, just blank for a second. In terms of, going for that first grant, had you gone for stuff before that Helpman one?
Not with Helpman, no.
What were your
hadn't. The only reason that I hadn't applied for yet was because I wasn't eligible. So as soon as I became eligible, and half the reason I went to Flinders was for Helpman.
Why? Because of the funding.
Because of,
that were
yeah.
graduates of university.
Yes, yeah, I knew, I'm just always looking for funding. The other reason too is I wanted, the sort of the theory backing of Flinders. It's not the only reason I went to Flinders, but it was a big draw card that you would then get access to support and funding, because making films is really hard, and you need it. You need that support.
We've always got funding applicants from film in our pool of funding in our rounds, and I'm always expecting to see them requiring the funding. So I don't see how you even do it. So without it, it's hard work.
Yeah, yeah.
What's happening with Mercury at the moment? Are they emerging as a bit of industry support?
Oh yeah, I mean, Mercury's like Helpman Key as well. I do work with someone on the board, but I think Mercury, they've gone through a big change and it's really exciting what's happening there. Quicksilver, I think, is open, so there's like a huge amount of funding on offer right now. I think it's still open. So great things are happening at the Mercury and it's very, very exciting. So you can subscribe. I'm a subscriber and you get access to all these spaces. You get access to gear and support and writers' rooms, and just like if you're a filmmaker and you don't know and you haven't subscribed to the Mercury, you should, like today.
I say it before and it'll come up a lot in our Q&A session, but like I said, if you're under 26 and you haven't got Carclew funding, you're doing yourself a disservice as an artist. So you're in such a unique pool of eligibility. And then you're going to age out and you're going to find out that it's a lot more competitive.
It is quite.
Danielle, what was it like when you went for your first grant, and what were the reasons to not go for it when you first started?
So the first grant that I went for was the Carclew Fellowship Grant. So I think it ended in July last year. So that was the first grant that I went for coming out of.
Did you receive project funding yet?
I haven't received project funding yet. No, I went for the big dog. Yeah. I think throughout because I graduated at the end of 2021, and when I came out of drama school for the first 6 months, I kind of had this huge realization that being an emerging artist, I needed to start paving my own career and deciding where it was that I wanted to go and what it was that I wanted to do and how it was that I wanted to showcase myself to the industry. So applying for the fellowship funding was something that I looked into seeing what it was that I could do with that and how it could help me develop my own skills as a creative.
Well, the way we try to pitch the fellowships, or we try to encourage artists to apply for the fellowships, is to really think big, because it really is that opportunity for you to kind of do things that you ordinarily would convince yourself aren't possible. So like traveling to a different country, or I always cite this one particular artist that went and studied in Paris to do clown school, and I just kind of think that's like one of that kind of says everything about a fellowship program that we run. Chloe, tell us about the first time you went for funding, and have you all been successful your first time? Like, have you first run?
No.
Right.
No. So, I think I've applied for a few grants. I'm probably like 50-50, like 50% have been successful, 50% haven't.
Good strike rate.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I just turned 27, so I am actually not eligible for Carclew anymore, but that's okay. Yes.
And you'll be eligible for some Helpman funding.
Yes, I'm still eligible for Helpman funding. Yeah.
One door
Yeah.
closes, another one's still open.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's the ecosystem we really want.
Yeah. So I think, the thing for me is it's not exactly funding, but just with like when I applied for Share House, like I applied, I think the year before I got it, and I didn't get it that year. And so I was kind of like, I applied again because I obviously had feedback from my unsuccessful application from the previous year.
And that served you well?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, maybe tell us a little bit about the shared house residency. What's happening? Like, what was that process like?
We had to do an interview, which was like really. I'm not good at interviews, but I got it, so that's probably a good sign. Yeah, I think similar sort of thing, like just be concise in your application. Don't use art lingo, even though I love art lingo. Don't do it. Yeah.
You got to exercise a different part of your brain.
Yeah.
It's one thing to kind of be, really passionate, but again, if you don't have that kind of ability to kind of tie it into reality, then
Yeah, because
away with it.
I mean, you never know who's going to be reviewing your application.
Yeah.
And so I think one thing that I always do, I have a tradie brother. So I get him to read my applications because I'm like, if he can understand it, anyone can understand it. Yeah.
No, that's a very good
Yeah.
because, I mean, the way our panels are assessed, or the way our applications are assessed, we have a group of industry peers that get together, all from different art forms. And I always kind of say to applicants that you need your application to be general enough to appeal to all the panel, but specific enough to appeal to the one art peer that is from your art form. So if you're a film person, you want to try and make sure that it appeals to the whole panel, but there's going to be that one film peer that can maybe call you up on something that you might be bullshit. So keep that in mind. So and so you're the residency program. So it's working out all right. So you're enjoying that?
Yes, I love it. I feel like I have my own little family here, which is great. I also have my own little family, like at Floating Goose Studios. I have my 2 art families, which is really nice.
Well, you kind of raised a good point because, when you weren't successful with your application, you kind of looked to see what else was available. And I think that's the key. You didn't kind of just go, oh, I missed out and that's it.
Yeah. And I think something else that, I mean, from just my experience of being at Floating Goose as well, like just always reach out. So like a lot of the artists who exhibit with us have like apply for the City of Adelaide grants. And like we often, like we can help artists apply for those grants. So I think it's really important if you are having an exhibition somewhere to actually reach out to the gallery where you're having the exhibition because they can probably offer a lot of good advice.
And you got feedback to your application, didn't you?
Yes. Yep.
How valuable was that kind of feedback?
Um,
That you were given? Like, was it?
very valuable. I mean, I've had like the one, like the consultation as well when I've applied for grants, and you get given ideas. Like I applied for a grant where I wanted to like delve into doing digital art, and it was suggested to me of like, well, why don't you do more of like a mentorship, and like, do you know any artists you could do mentorship with, like that sort of thing, like. Yeah.
It's like, what we do is, if you just want to go, if you don't want to have a project or you just want to go for that professional development, you can apply for $3,000 of purely development where you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a defined outcome. And you can do that mentorship. So if there's an artist that you kind of want to shadow, there's options to do that within our P&D rounds. That's great, Chloe. That's good. I think I'm going to put it to the audience and just see if there's any questions that anybody has, because I kind of feel like that's where we get to learn a little bit. So is there anyone that has any questions that they'd like to ask us or the panel, or ask Helpman? They're right there. Don't be shy. Oh, yes.
I'm not going to make a question. I've got more of a statement just before when we were talking about ageing out with Carclew. So just so that everyone, that you are really clear, the difference for us is also you don't have to wait. I remember you saying that before, Joel. You don't have to wait till you're 25 to apply for Carclew. So go for it when you're younger. Is that right? Is that something you would say?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, 47, and I was, you know, it's such a, I mean, there's this opportunity to apply for this funding. You don't have to kind of do it hard, you know. I just keep on saying you owe it to yourself. And it's nice to come at it from this angle, having never gone for funding before, and I just think it would have helped me infinitely.
So the biggest difference, is that better? The biggest difference is with us is if you've gone to university and you've got your degree and you've from one of our eligible programs, at any age, you could start your degree tomorrow at 40 and graduate and we'll support you. So just keep that in mind that if you're, it's not an age thing. So Helpman's here for up to 5 years after you graduate with all of our opportunities. So that's probably the biggest difference. And if you're, 19, 18 and eligible for, you can go for Carclew as well. I remember, just don't wait until you're 25, turning 26 and you think you need to apply then. So just check the websites, check the criteria, check your eligibility, but just keep that in mind with us. Like, that is the biggest difference. So we're here to support you, like, for yourself, like Gemma, like you can come to us and just keep, just don't let that age thing be a barrier with Helpman.
How many people in the room have gone for funding before or been successful with their funding? How many people have gone for funding but haven't been successful?
Yeah.
All right, it's interesting. You've got to have some questions. What was your art form? I'm going to pick some people out just by random. What was your art form?
Me?
Sorry, person in front of you.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a dancer.
Dancer.
Yeah.
What was your reasons for maybe not going for funding?
For not going for funding.
Yeah.
I think just life just life in general. I steered like gap year kind of thing. I steered away from the industry for a little bit, but then I decided to come back with Alchemy this year and last year. I went for funding with Carclew for the share house residency, I think in 2021, but I was unsuccessful. And obviously back then I was a very recent graduate, so learning from then to now,
And dance or, working within an art form, it's so hard to kind of make a footprint within it, try to, I meet a lot of dancers and it's kind of like, what are the options as far as pursuing or moving forward? And it's almost like you have to go do that mentorship and that development outside of Adelaide.
yeah.
So is that something you're looking at doing or thinking about doing?
Absolutely. It looks like Kate next to me is burning
gonna
to say
say-
something.
For the live, yes. Hello, live streamers.
Yes, I did have a burning. I was like, well, that's what we're doing. We have sort of done the complete opposite of, because of that, we are about to lose Dance Hub SA, which is a huge chunk of dance in Adelaide funding outside of Carclew and Helpman, which is quite broad to help all artists. But Dance Hub is Dance Hub. And so we might not be able to offer money, but that's why we've come together. Yes, we only graduated a year ago or 6 months ago, but we're not going to wait around because there's not much that will be going on afterwards once Dance Hub goes. So that's a whole space gone, and a large chunk of the industry does use it. So instead of waiting and going into state like what everyone probably will be doing and want to do, we're just not waiting around and just going to do it ourselves.
Which, if there is something that you wanted to do outside of Adelaide, don't feel like that's a reason not to go for funding, because we want ambassadors for South Australia, we want ambassadors for Carclew, as does Helpman. So, you owe it to yourself to kind of have a conversation with the funding bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of people kind of think, I can't go for that.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to do that. But yeah, I mean, think about it in terms of, we need to fight for funding, and the way we fight for funding is showing how we spend our money and how we use that money. So we kind of have to work together, you as artists and us, the funding body. So
Yeah, for sure. A large chunk of it was we just honestly just missed the boat. Like, I was doing honours and then I was like, whoops, there goes that date. So a big chunk of why we haven't gotten funding so far is literally because we've been either too scared to go that we'd be seen as too emerging, which is feedback that has been given to some other past friends. So we psyched ourselves out a little bit, because so we were like, all right, we're going to go do our stuff. We did our debut Fringe show. We've had 2 developments since. We've got some funding for a film. Like, we just we decided to make it hard for ourselves, which I don't know if I would give advice for. But we've done some stuff now, and now we're going to go for some funding. So
Sorry, how old are you both?
I'm 25.
I'm 23.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we should be booking a consultation.
yes, yes. I emailed you last week, and I was so scared. And then you sent me the consultation. So yes.
Dance is represented in our funding rounds, but not as much as the other stuff. So, how many musicians are there here?
Well.
A lot of musicians. I'm just going to pick people at random. Sorry. Yeah, unless anyone wants to ask a question.
Sorry.
Oh, here we go.
I do have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was wondering, with the timeline, is that generally what puts me off, is that it's so far ahead that I don't know whether to specify exactly what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, because what if plans change, so I just leave it.
So just for the benefit of people on the live stream, what you're asking is how's it, because the timeline or because the lead in time for your funding is so far away, how do you kind of show that what you are asking the money for is actually going to happen? Or
I guess, yeah, what if you specify exactly what's going on and then plans have totally changed by a year in progress and you want to do something totally different with the money?
what it is if you secure that funding, you're successful. It's just a straightforward conversation with whoever your coordinator is, and that would be myself, or for Helpman it would be Tess, and it's just having an honest conversation about what the circumstances and how they've changed. We all understand that circumstances change. The nature of being an artist in a post-COVID world, it's kind of, the contingency is part and parcel of what we do. So it's just a case of you having a straightforward conversation with whoever the funding body is.
Can I say something on that as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just from my experience, it's expected that things will change. Like
Murphy's Law.
you make the project and you adapt to the project that you're making so that you make the right thing, not you're fitting something into a funding pool. Like you let it evolve, and everyone expects that your creative practice will evolve. So it's actually inbuilt into the process, and actually use it as an opportunity to kind of like make it part of it.
As long as you're kind of, accounting for it in your acquittal as well, unless it's like, if there's obviously a completely different project or a completely different variation of what you're doing, then obviously, within reason, you might have to give the funding back. But it starts with a conversation with the organisation that you've secured the funding from.
I can add something to that as well. Because when I was booking my fellowship last year, I had to book flights a year in advance, and those flights are not available yet. So basically having to work off what is available and giving a rough estimate, and working with international currency as well and conversion rates. And so a lot of that actually affected the way I allocated my budget. So it's just a matter of planning a contingency in advance and making sure that you do acknowledge that there might always be some changes that happen.
Yeah,
and so keeping yourself covered in that way.
I always tell applicants that, we're looking for reasons to not fund an application, not the other way around. We want to fund everything. So if there's some information in there that obviously, makes your project completely unfeasible, then, unless you've got an explanation in there or a line in your notes to the budget, then, we don't have any recourse. We're just like, well, okay, cool, this person hasn't accounted for it. There's no contingency for it. So you're not in the room to argue your point. So, always have a contingency in place.
And something else that you can do if your project does change quite significantly, because I did a fellowship with Carclew in 2020, right as COVID hit, so it meant that everything went out the door.
Got a whole file of things that didn't happen in 2020.
Yeah, so
it's like a lost year.
as a result, I actually had to put in a variance, which is a kind of an application on top of that application to ask to use the funds for something else.
Yeah. So, short answer, timeline shouldn't be a reason not to go for funding, and it's unless it's a really, really bad timeline, it's generally not a reason for why you won't fund it. Nice, Sonia. Yeah. most cases, they probably want to maybe recuse themselves or claim a conflict of interest if they do know who you are. So assume that there's a panel of people that have never met you before and don't rely on them knowing who you are. In fact, ignore that they would know you because they probably wouldn't want to highlight it. Right? But we also work in a pretty small ecosystem. So, I'm from the music industry, so there's a high percentage, or there's a high chance that I'm going to know who the applicant is. But yeah, don't highlight that in your application.
But write it like.
Don't like, oh yeah, Joel is like a good friend of mine. That's the reason why I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm a musician, and one of the things I like to apply for funding for is to go on tour, interstate or overseas in the future. And I know obviously it's good to provide as much detail as possible with venues and timeline and all of that stuff. I know you also mentioned about the letters of support. That's good to get that from anyone who's involved. But also, on the other hand, something I was thinking about is maybe if I didn't receive the funding, the tour might not happen in the same capacity. So I was just wondering, what is the middle point there with planning stuff and getting people on board, but also wanting to
Try to confirm. Sorry, just to tell the people online what you're asking for. There's a bunch of stuff that you can't confirm. How much should you be trying to confirm as far as in terms of making your application more competitive, specifically when it comes to overseas travel or going on a tour? There's a lot of variables there, obviously. My advice would be try to confirm as much as you can. And if it looks like that you can't confirm a bunch of stuff that's really pertinent to your application that makes up the bulk of your argument, perhaps you should not go for that application, not go for that grant. Because whilst we'll be understanding, it's such a competitive round, and if you're up against someone that has a bunch of stuff confirmed, then it's not going to be as competitive. So my advice would be try to confirm as much as you can.
Yep.
And whether that's from a promoter that's local to the area that you're planning on touring, maybe if it's a venue owner that you're touring, just really think as you're putting that application together, what questions am I leaving unanswered? For the panel. So try to have as many of those answers accounted for.
I was just going to add to that.
Because that is really difficult to do. And the other thing to think about as an artist is why, is to show that's a progression in your career. So as a musician, you need to articulate that you've already built an audience in South Australia, and then obviously the next step is what you're now doing is interstate, rather than like, I've just graduated and gee, I'm gonna go to and do this tour in the States. So it's actually making sure that you can articulate why you're going there and what your plans are as part of your career progression as well. I think is really important with those things, because that helps the panel to, that tells part of that story as to what you're planning to do.
And Jane raised a good point as far as pathways and articulating that pathway. We like to see pathways, and we like to kind of see what the big picture of your journey is as far as your journey as an artist. So don't think about funding for that moment. Think about what it will lead to in the future. Think about, this is part of my 5-year plan. And it's surprising to me. Well, not surprising because I'm an artist myself, but it's surprising that a lot of artists who are successful with funding feel like they can't go back for continued funding. If they're successful once, they assume that then you're cut off, which is definitely not the case. We love to see repeat applicants, especially successful repeat applicants, because we want to be a part of their journey. We want that pathway for you. So try to keep that in mind. And also, especially if you're unsuccessful, and you receive that feedback, we try to give as comprehensive feedback as comprehensive as we can give, but we try to make sure that people understand where
personally, I never used to like seeing feedback. If I was unsuccessful with an application, I'd forget about it and never want to think about it. And it's only when I started in this role at Carclew that I realised how valuable that feedback was. So, yeah, definitely keep that in mind. Do we have any other questions? Yeah.
Okay, so
What's your art form first, if you don't mind me asking?
my art form, film.
Film, great.
Okay, so I just probably should have written this down.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, because what I'm thinking about at the moment, because can you come back to me later?
Absolutely. I mean, are you a producer or are you an actor or a screenwriter?
I'm a writer.
Writer. Okay, cool. So would it be about some sort of professional development that you're looking for, or still thinking about it?
I mean, any profession that is good development.
Yeah.
I guess my question, because what would be a project that would be considered too small?
Considered too small? That's a good question. Well, as you can see on some of, so just to sort of, so for the people at home, you asked what project would be considered too small. Well, as you can see from our previous applicants, we had a bit of a wide range of different amounts that were funded. So we had one project that was 1,500, and then right up to 10,000. So I don't think there would be anything too small, to be honest. If it's effective and if it's suitable for what our funding provides or says that we provide, then nothing's too small. It just depends on how you can articulate how effective it's going to be for you or development. I would say if it's too small, I would say possibly that's more to do with maybe a professional development or a mentorship. But yeah, we don't fund projects or not fund projects based on how little or how much money they ask for. It's not like you become more competitive as soon as you ask for $5,000 instead of $10,000. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't really matter.
Can I just add to that? I think it also just depends on what you're applying for. So, for instance, with both Helpman and Carclew, the fellowships are quite ambitious projects.
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't want to apply for something that was quite small for one of the more ambitious projects. But for some of the smaller grants and things like that, Helpman has grants that start at $500, which are our boost grants. So each thing that you're applying for the awards, and they're all quite different. So I guess it's a matter of looking at both Carclew and Helpman and working out, as Tess said, what's going to be the best fit for what you want to achieve, because they are all very, very different.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a reason why the maximum is $10,000, because it's generally reserved for us. They've really thought big and really thought about what it is they want to achieve. Yeah, if you were asking for $500, maybe there was another somewhere else that you could kind of be securing that funding from. Yeah.
And just to add to that, to echo what you're saying, Jane, see all our different grant rounds as building blocks. So starting small is not disregarding the work. Seeing the work as building blocks, if it is a small project or just a quick injection to get something across the line, it doesn't mean that it's any less important than a bigger project. But we're here to help build your capacity.
Yeah. Any questions? Yep.
Just running with that out of interest, if you had a bunch of applicants that were asking for $200 and that was a $10,000 thing, would you take 3 people on, or is it more to do with how much support you give them as well, so you just pick one?
Ask me that again.
So are there multiple people that can get a grant at the same time if they all ask for a lower amount?
Do you mean for the same project?
Yeah, just as a general question.
I generally wouldn't encourage you all to kind of split up into groups and apply for the same, or split up into individually. Like if you've got a group of 5 of you and all individually apply for like $200, because you're essentially competing against each other. and we're all going to know it's the same project. And
Oh, that wasn't really what I meant. I just was interested in general as to whether you ever, have two people that you approve because they both have smaller budgets.
oh, okay, that's a good question. No, like as I said, you're not going to be more competitive, if you apply for less. And there's a lot of applicants that kind of feel that way. They go, well, this is going to be more practical for me to apply for, just under 5,000 because it'll be more competitive. It's not. We're just going to look at that as being completely unfeasible. And if it's not, we can see the numbers. Like I said, there's a lot of applicants. There's a lot of the panel that are artists themselves, and they can speak to, why would you undercut yourself like that? And we also like to see applicants enumerate themselves. A lot of funding panels or funding bodies, or not a lot, but a lot of applicants probably feel like it's not something they should be doing. They shouldn't be allocating some of their budget to themselves. But we love to see that. We encourage it because you're an artist and you need to pay yourself. Yeah. I mean, is that the case? You don't think you should pay yourself? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, also at the same time, if you're taking, I don't know, with things like film, it's like, every penny counts. So, you're not going to pay yourself an amount of money where you could be putting that money into a better DP or something like that. So, yeah, but within reason. Jane, did you have something you wanted to add to that? Are there any other questions? How are we going for time? You don't have a watch? Okay, that's all right.
Could I add something about pay yourself?
Yeah.
Definitely pay yourself. But also to add super onto that, to make sure that you're paying yourself and your collaborators super. So I think the percentage is 11% now. So I think that's a legal requirement as well. Is it?
You are going to be paying yourself. Just try to make sure that you've secured the right amount, or you've done your research as to what the appropriate amount you should be paid, and that can be found online.
For visual artists, it's through NAVA. I'm not sure about other, but yeah.
It's not. For music, they've been proposing. I don't know, award rate. They've been talking about what an award rate is, but it's a little less unionised than maybe some of the other art forms. So I understand if there's any musicians out there that kind of like, I get that. I would probably think of it more in terms of, if you were going to pay yourself, think about what you're going to lose from your day job. If you wanted to kind of maybe make a record and you couldn't go to work, I would think of it in those terms. Yeah. Is someone else going to say something? Chloe, were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I was going to add to that, account for anything that you will miss out. Like if you're, say, going on like a residency or something, like you obviously won't be getting paid from your day job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that, that question pops up a lot with applicants, afraid to kind of, pay the second wage. I encourage it weekend. Just hold that thought.
Sure.
Are there any other questions before we kind of close out this conversation and add final thoughts from our panel and maybe Helpman? No other questions? Are you sure? This is it? Last chance? Yep, go ahead.
Well, at one point, it was said, with regards to budget side, which is funny with theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, so they said that you need to acquit. What does that mean?
So that's where you articulate how the money was spent and how the money was allocated, and hopefully it aligns with what you said you were going to do with that money. And you do that in the form of your receipts, your invoices. You show how it was allocated. Helpman may have.
We have a form that's required.
Yeah, and we actually have a form as well. So there's a bit of a template. So you just need to articulate or answer the questions that are in there. But it's generally a pretty lengthy document. And yeah, because that's our way of accounting for how the money was spent. And I'm endlessly chasing acquittals from my predecessors. Because there's been a few people.
Can I just jump in? If you've never received a grant before,
simplest terms, you're just showing how the money was spent. And it's how we show the money was spent, and it's how we show that the money was spent, properly. And we weren't just giving it to artists that we didn't have to account for. And I just, it's part and parcel with doing a grant application. And in some cases, you might feel that if you've aged out, and this is your last Carclew application that you've been successful with, that you probably don't have to do an acquittal. In some cases you don't. In some cases you don't, because you're not going to go for Carclew funding anymore. But I will say this: we have a relationship with Arts SA, so if your acquittal has been unaccounted for, you won't get Arts SA funding. So it's things like that, where it's not going to go unaccounted for. So and you laugh, but that's actually happened. I'm chasing acquittals from some applicants that have aged out, and
Oh, can you stop saying aged out at 27? I don't think you
Just stop it.
I'm a little old as well.
Sorry, I did have one more question. It's unrelated, but I know in past Helpman grants that I've applied for, there's been an option to apply with other eligible applicants. I was just wondering what is the benefit of that, and like say if I was kind of the project leader, or like in this case the band leader, what would be the benefit in having multiple applicants?
Well, it reiterates what I was saying earlier. You're not competing against yourself, essentially. If it's the same project, it kind of shows that maybe there's added value in pulling your resources together, and it just makes it more viable project, essentially, and it just makes it more competitive. If it's a project that you clearly can't do on your own, if you've got some indication that you're pulling your resources with a production company or something like that, then it's going to be more viable for us to fund you. Jane.
Oh no, that's fine. Does that answer your question, or do you want?
Yeah. So say the project was, so it involved a group of people, but it was mostly about my personal career development, or my.
You mean as a solo artist?
Not as a solo artist, but
Yeah.
say if I was the band leader and the writer and all that, even though it does involve a group of people, would it be beneficial for me to include everyone, or because it's mostly about my career trajectory?
I would suggest, so I would suggest for that, because, and it's probably the similar with Carclew, who want to show how many artists that have been supported who are under 27. For the same for us, you could put it down as your project, but I would mention in there that the project is also supporting, all of these other artists that are eligible, that are Helpman eligible, because they're in the panel. It's like, the panel will look at the return on investment. They go, oh, well, not only are we supporting you, but if we invest in this project, look at all these other artists that are emerging that this project is supporting. So I think that's what Joel's saying. That's how it makes the application more.
Well, yeah, you see that a lot with film. There's a big crew, and where you can try and, well, actually, it's essential for you to articulate that 60% of the crew are under 26 or something like that. Specifically with Carclew funding, because in some cases it might not be competitive if all the funding is going to a bunch of crew that are older than 26. Obviously, within film, you want to get established people and you want to get the best crew people, and they're generally a little bit older. I'm assuming. But yeah, where you can try to highlight that there's a big percentage of your people within your project that are under 26. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
It's such like a long winding road. Do we have any other questions?
I was going to say one last thing, sorry, and then this will be last.
Yeah.
Tess mentioned our budget template, which we don't actually have examples of right here today, but all of it is on our website. So the main thing with Helpman, and same with Carclew when we talked about it briefly, is reading the application, but reading the website page and reading the form that says information for applicants. That is your guidelines for applying for anything. So make sure you've read it, understood it, and check that you've read through the application form before you start your application. So that's a really good tip. Sometimes I think, that gets missed. It's a link, it's a download. Just make sure where we're talking about this information for applicants, that is the guidelines. So from our website, making sure that you understand that, and using the templates will be there. If we say use the template, there'll be a template, there'll be a link. And if you can't find it, call. So that's the main thing.
Exactly the same goes for us. We have templates available on the website, and as well as our guidelines. If you can't find those, please contact me via email. My email's on the website. But with regards to templates, particularly budgets, I'm sure a lot of artists have the tendency to kind of want to use their own budget. We encourage you to use that template because when it comes to assessing your applications, we like the uniformity of that one template that we use. And
We're the same.
because we've got up to 50 applications sometimes, and our panel members are used to, it's like muscle memory, they're used to seeing the budget the same way. And if they see a budget that isn't in the same way, it's just, not that it will mean your application won't be successful, it just, it facilitates the process a little bit better. So, keep that in mind. Any other questions? This is all stuff that we can cover in our conversation. Final thoughts. Okay, I just want one tip from each of you, please, when it comes to putting an application together.
Who's going to go first?
I'm happy to, yeah. I think that the strongest thing for me was probably that I had mentors and endorsement letters, and I really pushed that, and have multiple mentors at different levels to show that you're being guided through and that you have support from the industry that you're in. Put yourself in the ecosystem of the industry you're in and show that you're part of it. In whatever way you can. That would be my...
I'm going to raise a good point about the letters. Don't be afraid to write the letter yourself and send it to the person that you want to secure the letter from.
I send dot points to them, always.
Because, think of their time as being limited, and, to help the process, write something, and, they're not going to sign off on it if it's something that they think is disingenuous. But yeah, write the letter yourself and get them to attach their letterhead and signature.
Can I talk up Helpman just really quickly? I just want to say, I would talk up Carclew. I haven't had an experience. I'm sorry, I was way too old. I was way too old. My experience with the Helpman has just been that they are an incredible partner to work with, and you should see them as a partner. They are there to help you, and I will be forever grateful, because not only have I got production money, which is always good to get some money, but they've helped me grow my confidence, they've helped me grow my skills, they've put me, in a place for success on projects and my career. So I cannot talk them up enough. And I just want to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that for Carclew. I'm sure it is also the same for Carclew. I just haven't had the experience. So I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I've come across a lot of artists that have been beneficiaries of the Helpman. So yeah, it's great. I just like the ecosystem.
I would say definitely to get someone else to have a look at your application, because often when you write, you're so used to reading your own writing that it might make sense to you, but it might not make sense to someone else. So either getting someone who does work in the arts or someone who doesn't is always great to have.
Tradie brother.
Yeah, tradie brother.
If anyone needs someone.
Yeah. So,
I can
yeah.
hook you up.
That's a good point. Some applicants kind of worry, or they think they should put it in third person rather than first person. It depends on the art form or the application that you're putting forward. If you're representing a band or something like that, I would say third person. If you're representing yourself as a writer or a dancer, I would definitely put it in the first person. Just personalises it a little bit, and it can put off some applicants. Some of the panel members. So yeah, but it's not a definite reason as to why you will want to get one. Chloe, final thought.
My final thought would just be like, don't be scared to reach out, whether that's through Carclew or Helpman. Like, no question is a dumb question. And, like, talk to, like, I mean, obviously I'm a visual artist, so, you know, talk to the gallery that you're exhibiting with. Ask your friends, like, you know, if you know someone who's had a successful application in the past, ask them, pick their brain.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And the way you can find successful applicants is looking on our website. We list all our past recipients. So, you know, if there's someone in your art form, offer to buy them a coffee, like just have a chat with them and just say, how did you put together your application? And that's stuff that's available online. You know, it's well within the confidentiality.
I work front of house at Carclew on Wednesdays, so if you want to call me, you can pick my brain.
Yeah, that's true. Jane, do you have any tips? One tip.
Gosh.
Jane, you've read a lot of applications.
Yes, and in
You've
fact,
seen a lot
I
of
do those tips as well. I still get, after writing applications for 30 years, I still get people who aren't in my sphere to read them for me, and get them to read them for me. My tip is to make sure you continue a relationship with the funding body. They love to, we love hearing from the artists we've supported. Got an email last night from an artist who's overseas at the moment. We helped them with a project and just said, I just want to let you know where I'm at. This is what I'm doing now. So years on, we love hearing from people, and it just, you're building your own network. So, you know, you guys are going to be the next leaders. So my tip is to go out there after this and talk to each other, and because it is all about that community and supporting each other as well, both through the funding bodies but also with each other.
Yeah, that's good. Tess?
I just want to say thank you all so much for coming in tonight. It's so great to see so many people who are going to apply for all of our opportunities, all of them. But there is a lot coming up, so please don't be shy. Please reach out and please apply. Also, there's a tip sheet, because we have shared a lot of information tonight, so if it's gone in one ear and out the other and you're still confused, there's a tip sheet. And yes, please reach out and contact myself or Joel. And thank you, everyone, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.